It is 2015, the 150th anniversary of the beginning of Oil Springs, a village that owes its existence to the discovery of oil beneath the swampy, heavily forested land in central Lambton. How does the story of oil begin? A survey in 1833 of the oil fields went unfinished because of the mud and surface water, resulting in a shallow lake in the rainy periods, a dry bed in the summer, and wet clay mire the remainder of the year. The government census of 1851 showed only 13 hardy souls registered as landowners in the township, most of them British soldiers, given land grants after serving in Canada in the War of 1812. Crude oil had always been here in the seepage, in the grounds of the Enniskillen Bog. First Nations people, aware of this gooey black substance, used it for medicinal purposes and waterproofing their birch bark canoes. The first Europeans who tried to make a living from this black crude were brothers Charles and Henry Tripp, who formed the world's first oil company in 1854, distilling it into asphalt of such quality it won awards at the Paris World's Fair of 1855. They sold their holdings to James Miller Williams, first to actually start digging for oil, accidentally hitting the first oil well in North America while digging for water. Using a hand pump, he produced and sold kerosene and crude from his own distillery. In this area over the next few years, thousands of men, young and old, mined for oil using a metal chopping bit at the end of a spring pole drilling rig, raising and lowering the bit with a treadle time after time, day after day. During the early 1860s, Hugh Nixon Shaw and John Shaw both tried their luck. One of the two, just hours from giving up, having dug down through 50 feet of clay and more than 150 feet of rock shale, suddenly heard a roar. Moments later, a rush of gas followed by oil flowed with such force it reached a height of more than 300 feet. It was several days before it was finally capped, but escaping crude oil had flowed all the way to the River St. Clair. That was the beginning of today's oil industry, here in Lambton County, in January of 1862. The first gusher in Pennsylvania did not come in until about a year later. The oil was first hauled on stone sleds, later pulled by horse-drawn jumpers and scows to the village of Wyoming. That same year, John Henry Fairbank arrived in Oil Springs, coming from Hamilton on a surveying job. He ended up buying half an acre of property for himself, soon finding oil, naming his first well Old Fairbank. Fairbank brought with him the jerker-rod system, a method of allowing a chain of wells to be linked by a central power plant. A miner could have several wells running, powered by one source, free to dig more wells. The Fairbank family is the only reminder of those original oil drillers of the 1860s. Their jerker-rod lines of that time continue to run to this date. All over the Oil Springs Petrolia area today, many wells still run, powered by jerker-rod arms. The exploration for oil moved from there to Petrolia, a community built because of oil, home of the Victoria Playhouse, originally built on top of the volunteer fire department. The VPP, a 425-seat professional theater, is still in operation today. By late 1858, demand for oil led to the start of the Sarnia and Florence plank road. A toll road. Large barrel-shaped wagons carried oil day and night, having priority along its route, requiring other traffic to move aside on one of the way-offs along the way. Canadian oilmen are known the world over. One of the first ambassadors for the Canadian oil patch was William Henry MacGarvey. In 1881, he took his skills and knowledge to Germany. Soon after, drillers from Canada were developing oil fields all over the world. Their impact was not only in the field of oil. Sherman Smith, born in Petrolia, 1879, lost his sight at the age of 9 when gunpowder flashed and blinded him. Swift was one of the founders of the CNIB in 1918. The oil story continues in Lambton County. The Fitzgerald rig has powered a series of wells on a continuing basis since 1903. By the way, the wild swing in oil prices is not new. The cost of crude dropped from $11 a barrel in 1865 to 50 cents in 1866.